Well, welcome back into Studio 10, and I hope we are barking up the right tree this afternoon. I think so, right, Larry?
Yes.
Well, we've got Larry Leonard, the owner of LL Wooden Creations. He is here in studio, and he's got a couple of tricks and games up his sleeve. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic, especially because we're going to get into a few games here, which we know we always love here on Studio 10. But we've had a lot of artists and craftsmen on our show, but I've never seen someone who knows how to make fur into fun. So tell us, what sparked your interest with working with wood overall?
Well, it's been something that I've done for a long time. It's been a hobby of mine. I used to teach 5th grade, and it was just something I did on the weekends.
Yeah.
After I retired in 2016, it just kind of grew over the pandemic. I spent a lot more time in the garage, and when the retirement, or not the retirement, but the layoffs were over,
Right.
I decided it was time that I was just going to make games.
That's awesome, and I'm glad you did, because you brought a lot here in studio, and I know there's a lot of people at home who've really enjoyed playing these games too. But what was that moment that made you say, hey, this is what I'm going to do when it comes to games specifically?
Well, I started out making things like cutting boards and charcuterie boards and maybe a table or an end table chair or something like that. But I was invited to start selling at a Comic-Con.
Okay.
And I thought, well, if I'm going to sell at a Comic-Con, I should have a game or two.
Right.
So we made a couple games. They sold so well that we added a couple more games. They sold well, we added a couple more games. And eventually I just said to my wife one day, I was like, you know what, I think we just make games now.
That's right. A couple more turned into a couple more, and it turned into a full-fledged business. So with that being said, kind of walk us through the table. What are some of the games that you've brought here with you? Well,
we've got some games that are, good for 2 players to play by themselves. We've got an old game from, it's like an old Nordic kind of Viking game called Nefatafel. 2-player game. We've got cribbage, which is actually on here backwards, but we've got a cribbage board. We've got another card game, euchre, but we also have games that are for multiplayers. This one here is Shut the Box. That's for up to 4 players. We've got a Mancala board, and this one over here, this horse race game, is actually an undetermined number of people. You could have 4 or 5 people play it. You could also have 14 or 15 people play it.
All right. We'll talk
it's
about
good for a group.
A variety of different games that you have here. So what materials do you actually use to get started?
I use a lot of cherry. Cherry works well for the laser that I use to engrave the game surfaces on. There's a good contrast. But along with the cherry, I use a lot of exotic woods to add a little bit of accent to the games. We have woods like an African bloodwood, we have a leopard wood, we have a zebra wood, we have maybe some walnut. We have lots of different woods to give the wood some color without having to add stain or paint or anything.
All right.
And then they're all just coated with a clear coat of lacquer.
Awesome. Now, one thing we forgot to talk about on the table was this award that you won. You had an award-winning booth. Tell us about that experience.
Well, 2 weeks ago, I was at the Grand Blanc Art Fair. And one of the things that they do at that art fair is they have they judge the booths, the presentation, that kind of thing. And actually for the 2nd year in a row, we got the 2nd place ribbon. Awesome. So hopefully we'll be able to do something here next year to get over the hump and finally get that 1st place ribbon.
All right, well, you already got the Studio 10 award here, if I could tell you that. Now, I can imagine the smiles that you see on people's faces when they get their games in your hand. But what about this process puts a smile on your face?
Well, it lets me enjoy my retirement. It gives me something to do. My wife is just as much a part of the business as I am. She's right out there in the garage with me. As a matter of fact, the Grand Blanc one here, she set it up. She did everything and had it all set up. So she really won that award. So we worked together on it. We're able to stay at home. We're able to we're able to enjoy our retirement doing something that we love.
Absolutely. Well, your wifey is right here, and she's smiling from ear to ear, but so am I. And that's because Larry is sticking around. He's going to show us exactly how to play one of the games after the break.